guys, and welcome to yet another weekly reading vlog. I have no idea where my tripod is. It is somewhere around here. I'm gonna have to find it. But we are about to start a new book, and today's date, I didn't say, is Saturday, March 11th at 1:25 p.m. So yeah, it's the weekend. We only start on Saturdays. I've had my lunch. I've spent some time outside, even though it is kind of cold. It's like 56 degrees, I think is what it was, which I know to some people it's not cold. I am wearing like a sweater, but a short sleeve sweater, and that was perfectly fine. So I am starting a new short story collection today, or this is more a story collection. I got this when I was in Indianapolis last year, so if you saw that vlog you would have seen when I bought this book, which I guess I'll link that vlog down below. I had a great time in Indiana. It was a great place. And I did go to Barnes & Noble there, and I follow them on Instagram, and they are awesome. Yeah, there was literally in my part of Indianapolis that I was in, northern Indianapolis, there were no independent bookstores, which is extremely strange to me that usually when I go to major cities, there are, because I couldn't go into like downtown Indianapolis because I was there for the Indy 500, and if you don't know, I think like the second or third biggest parade in America is the parade they have in Indianapolis for the Indy 500, and I was not about to go get into that mess because, yeah, I don't want to get in traffic and all of that. So I just ended up going to Barnes & Noble, and again, had a great time. But I got this book, Celtic Tales. So this is fairy tales and stories of enchantment from Ireland, Scotland, Brittany, and Wales, and illustrations by Kate Forrester. So for St. Patrick's Day, which is this coming week, I don't know if that'll be in this vlog. I don't really know what days or what. I don't know what day of the week that's on, but that I thought this would be fitting. And at the time I bought this, I was really wanting to know more about Brittany, and that was why I bought this. But obviously, and I've read one of the stories in here, but I do want to read more. They have this for a lot of different places. I know there is a Nordic one and maybe a Russian one, so just from stories from all over the world. So I would like to get to all of these eventually, but we are just going to be starting with the Celtic Tales. Still don't know where the tripod is. I'm gonna have to see where I ended the last vlog, and maybe it's around there. I do not know, but I have gone to Goodwill to go donate some clothes and books, and now I am back home. I read the first fairy tale, whatever you want to call it, in the Celtic Tales, and it was one from Ireland. The first section in there is about tricksters, and it was literally 6 pages, so I don't really know what to tell y'all, but I'm bad at my descriptions. That being said, we are going to get into my mood reading pick, which if I still am feeling meh about it, by the end of the day tomorrow, I am going to DNF, because I am trying to become more comfortable with DNFing things, because it's not worth reading average books when I can be reading great books. So the book I'm talking about is Libertie by Caitlin Greenidge. I know that font messes with me. That's a font I have a hard time reading. This is a historical fiction, and I can't even really tell you what it's about. So we start the story in Brooklyn in the 1860s. I don't know exactly what year, with a young girl whose mother is a doctor, one of the first, I don't know if one of the first female doctors or one of the first black female doctors, but still, like, she is, can't think of the right word, like, but she is, so she's a doctor. And so the young girl, Libertie, is always around that and is helping her mother and just only seeing the patients that are coming to her house. A lot of them were slaves in the South and are coming to the North to be free. And then we go through the Civil War and just a lot of the racism that they experience because, yeah, it's the 1800s in the United States. Then we are now in later on, I don't know how old she is exactly, but she is going to college in Ohio, and I don't know exactly what she's studying, but she wants to be a poet when her mother wants her to be a doctor. But she doesn't want to do that. And she's just really finding herself after being away from her mother, who was very strict, I would say, but in a way she had it kind of easy. Like, she didn't have to, like, one example, she says not a lot of black girls could just be laying in the backyard on a work day when everybody else is working. So like, she had it easy, but still her mother was kind of like strict and tough, overbearing, and she's finally away from that and is finding herself and is being kind of rebellious and all of that, and is just coming to terms with who she is as a person without her mother. And yeah, which I think a lot of people do go through when they hit their 20s, leaving home and all of that. I don't know if she's in her 20s. I don't know how old she is, but that is what is happening. And it's just fine. Like, I have a hard time sticking to what I'm reading. Like, my mind wanders. I don't know if that's something about the writing style or what. I'm not gripped by it. I like the idea of this, and I think the character's a bit of a Mary Sue, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to read. I do have a hockey game at like 7. I think it's at 7. I don't know when it is, but sometime later today. So I would like to get reading done before that. I don't know what page I'm starting on either, but I'm over 100 pages in. I think I'm like 140 pages in. That hockey game I watched was miserable. Probably for the Canes, the worst one I've ever watched, because I've watched a ton of Maple Leaf games in my time, and those have all, not all, but the playoff games. Y'all know, sorry for the talking. I'm trying to vlog. But okay, so I read 149 pages in Libertie. So it looks like this isn't going to be a DNF because I only have 40 pages left. So it's like, why not? Just go ahead and finish that. So that is the plan for tomorrow. The pace has definitely quickened. Again, sorry for the dog barking, but it has gotten, like, the pacing has been better. It's been easier to read. Another thing with like the part that I was struggling with, there was a lot of poetry, but I think there is a word for it. I feel like I learned about this before, when the lines are all kind of random. They're not like straight down, and I don't know, that's something I've never read anything like that before, so that was something new for me. And not saying like the whole book isn't poetry or anything, it's just the character likes poetry, so would write poetry occasionally. But books, if you liked these books, I think you would like this book. So Black Cake, Charmaine Wilkerson, was that the name? I don't remember. I think that's the name though, because there's a lot of references to water in both, and then they're both kind of Caribbean because we are in Haiti now in this book. And then another one is by Way Too More. Where is it? It's historical fiction. I am not seeing it. It must be on one of my other shelves. Yeah, I'm not seeing the book, so I can't tell you which one. She Would Be King, I think is the name, just because it takes place in some of the similar time periods in like the 1800s, and I don't know, they just remind me of each other. But we're going to be getting into World Without End after my bath. I'm a quarter of the way into this one, so this is by Ken Follett. I didn't say that. World Without End, my thoughts are, well, first let me tell you what it's about. So in the 1300s, these children go into the forest. They're not supposed to go into the forest, you know, because there's criminals and all of that, so it's not safe. But you know, kids like to be rebellious. They like to do things they're told not to do. So they go on like All Hallows Eve. They go and they see a killing happen. So that's all our first little section is, all these kids. This was like their first time meeting and all of that. And then we do a time skip. There are a lot of time skips in Ken Follett books. So we're at a time skip to when they're young adults in their like early 20s. And that's the thing with Ken Follett. He just humanizes history so much, where it just sounds so human. They had the same struggles that we have today, or the same relationship issues, and the same problems with their families and all that kind of thing. And it's just something that throughout history you can always find something you can relate to. People were always humans. maybe. They might have been aliens, they might have been apes, who knows? No, but for like human history, we've always had emotions, and yeah, and I think he does a great job at that. That being said, he does use some tropes over and over in all his different series. The Century Trilogy, which is not on that shelf, but yeah, that trilogy, Kingsbridge, there are similar tropes that he uses over, which is kind of annoying. I'm like, I've read this from you, I know what's gonna happen. Even if they're set 400, 600 years apart. And then some, like, the sex scenes, like, I don't know, I feel like women are just so sexualized in his books. But with the first book was published in like 1987, so that you have to give it that. And but yeah, it's just like, I don't really care what she looks like naked. Yeah, so we're gonna be getting into this tonight, hopefully get into around 30%. That is my goal. But I am going to go get my bath now, and might be dog whining in the background because Delilah is outside. She's going out in intervals because she is a water dog for like, I think the second most majority of her DNA, but she does not like water. So and it's been raining, so she doesn't like to be out there. But I read 35 pages so far today. It is Sunday, the 12th at 3:52 p.m. and I finished a book. So Libertie did not go down as a DNF. It did go down as a 2-star though, which it's like in Goodreads, which is worse. We'll go through my thoughts. So characters, Mary Sue's atmosphere, it didn't play a huge part. Like, it was fine. Like, yeah. Writing, I could not stay focused on the writing. My head was going elsewhere, and I'm reading 3 other books and I'm not having that problem with any of the other books, so I don't think it's a me problem. I think it's the book problem. Plots, I don't know what the point of this was. I finished it and I'm like, okay, what was the point of that? Usually books have that major theme where you can be like, okay, this is the theme of this book. I don't know what it was for Libertie. So it went down as a 2-star. We will be starting another book probably at 5:30, so in like an hour and a half here. And that will be A History of Wild Places by Shea Earnshaw. So with these mood reading, the next 4 mood reading books, I told my dad, I was like, out of these stacks here, pick out 4 books that are less than 400 pages. And this was the first one he picked. So it's listed as fantasy. I've seen it be called a thriller, so it's not a high fantasy. It's set in our world. So this is Travis Morin has an unusual talent for locating missing people. Hired by families as a last resort, he requires only a single object to find the person who has vanished. When he takes on the case of Maggie St. James, a well-known author of dark macabre children's books, he's led to a place many believed to be only a legend. So hauntingly beautiful, hypnotic, and bewitching, The History of Wild Places is a story about fairy tales, our fear of the dark, and losing yourself in the wilderness of your mind. And it's a writer, Oregon. I don't know why I thought they were from South Carolina. I think the book takes place in Louisiana, which I love. Louisiana. Literally, I love the idea of Louisiana. Yeah, I'm not seeing a location. I'm like, I love the idea. I've been there, but only just to drive through or spend the night. But yeah, I think the premise of being able to touch something that belonged to somebody and be able to, like, in any case, but in this, to find that person, I think that's really intriguing. But I've heard mixed things. I've heard some people love this book. I've heard some people are just like, meh. So again, if I'm meh about it, we will DNF it by Sunday. Give myself a week with these books, and if it goes over that time, it's not worth it unless I'm like loving it or something. But yeah, this month has not been a strong reading month for me. I have only read 1 book that I've loved. All the rest have been average, or I did not care at all about them, which is sad. So hopefully that changes and we start loving books, but looking at my stack over there, I don't think it's really going to be changing, because all those, I don't know about Celtic Tales, but the other 2 are 3 stars. Yeah, yesterday I read 212 pages, by the way, thinking of the Can Follett one, because I read 46 pages in there. I read a ton yesterday, but we will be starting this one, A History of Wild Places, again in about an hour and a half here. So hopefully it goes well. Hey guys, happy Monday. I definitely didn't like update last night. My bad. And this is the lipstick that always gets on my teeth. I forgot about that, and I think it was on my teeth during the whole video that I just filmed, but that's fine. So I've been reading Annihilation today. I have plans on finishing it today. I have like 40 pages left. I always update when I have like 40 pages left, but I did want to talk about the shows that I'm currently watching. So Daisy Jones and the Six, the most recent, like 3 episodes came out on Friday the 10th, I think that was, and I love them. Like, they make up. So the first 3 episodes are like 3 stars, they're fine. These are, I love them. They could move up to a 5-star, but right now they're a 4-star. I love them. They were perfect. And I've been listening to the soundtrack all weekend. But I need to delete some storage so I have storage, you know, and then I'll talk about the MH370 documentary. Okay, I'm back to talk about the MH370 documentary. It might be the worst documentary I've ever watched. Like, I love aviation documentaries. Y'all know I love aviation in general, and I mean, what got me into it was watching documentaries. This one was so bad. So bad. So the first episode was fine. It's the common theory that the pilot, it was mass suicide. Like, he flew the plane into the ocean, killing 239 people with them. That is crazy to me. I don't understand how somebody can do that, but I mean, to let y'all know, I've never had a real set like, this is what I believe happened. It's just so crazy to me that the biggest kind of Boeing there is can go missing without a trace. So I've never had a set theory. But I mean, that one I do think could be possible. Like, that does seem highly possible, because I mean, that has happened before where, I mean, pilots have slammed planes in a mountain. So I mean, it happens. So I think that's a fine theory. Then episode 2 is like, Russia did this. Okay, so the theory is there were 3 ethically Russians on board the plane. This is what they say in the documentary. If we go by nationalities, it's 2 Ukrainians and 1 Russian. They do not mention that in the documentary at all, but if you go by the records, that's what it is. So they're saying that Russia had these 3 guys on the plane, and so 2 go back and cause a ruckus in like the business class cabin, and 1 goes, you can lift up the carpet to go into like the electrical part of the plane. So he takes control of the plane from there, and they switch the settings to make it look like they went south when they really went north to Kazakhstan, and this was all to distract from the invasion of Crimea. Okay, 1, I don't think Putin cares if people, like, he invaded Ukraine. He doesn't care if people know. He's not trying to cause a distraction. So, I mean, like, why would he, like, I don't think he was doing this to cause a distraction from Crimea. And just to randomly accuse 3 Russian people, like, did they talk to these people's families or anything? Like, they just go and accuse 3 men of being hijackers just because they're Russian, and really only one of them was Russian? That doesn't sit right with me. I don't think that's okay. And then the third theory presented in here is there were 2 American AWACSs in the area, and one goes under MH370, 1 goes over, so they jam it. So that it makes it look like it vanished from the radar. So why would the Americans do this? There were walkie-talkies put onto the plane. These walkie-talkies did not go through security, and they were escorted onto the plane into the cargo hold. And America finds out about this, and they do not want China getting this technology. So they tell the pilot, they're like, hey, we can take you to one of our bases. Let us take the cargo off. You're good to go to Beijing. Or, but the pilot could have said no. So they're like, okay, we're going to shoot you down. And this is all a big cover-up. I've never heard that theory before. I've heard that it went to like Diego Garcia. And I've heard that about possible hijackings, whether it be Russian, Chinese, whatever, or aliens. I don't believe any of these theories, and I know a lot of people are going to watch this show and think that Russia hijacked this plane or that America shot it down. I honestly just don't think so. I do think probably governments do know what happened and just aren't telling us. But do I think it's to an extreme that Russia took this plane to Kazakhstan or that America shot it down? No. As I said, I don't think Putin really cares about if people know he's invading Crimea at that time. And I feel like if America shot down a plane that had majority Chinese nationals and was going to Beijing, I think China wouldn't be partaking on a cover-up. I think they'd be like, yeah, the Americans did that. So what's your theory on MH370? Let me know, because it's fascinating. But yeah, I know a lot of people are watching this and they're probably believing these theories, and that's fine. You can believe what you want, but I don't think it's great that Netflix is encouraging these. Yeah. So I still don't have a set in stone theory of what I believe. It's just like, yeah, I don't know, but I am going to head out and get some lunch and then come back and read. Whoa, it's very bright right now. This is the time of day where the sun's like right in my window. So unusual update time, it's like 5:53. So I went ahead and finished Annihilation because I didn't have that much left, and I was just like, we can win them, finish this now. I never really told y'all in the vlog what this is about. I have talked about it in other videos, but here's for the vlog. So Area X is like this place, I don't even know what country it's in, but it's a place that has been like kind of locked away from the world for decades, and they send in expeditions, I guess every few years. It doesn't really say how many years. So this time it's an all-women team, and they are going in to map the terrain of this place. And basically it's Hunger Games, Stranger Things, Fortnite. It's how I imagine this. And this is science fiction, but also on Storygraph it was listed as horror, but to me, not really. I don't really get that vibe, but I guess a lot of people do get that vibe for it to be listed that way. So now for my thoughts. So I give this a 3-star. It was good. I think it's, especially since this is a series, I feel like it will probably grow as the series continues. But okay, so characters, we do not know the names of the characters. I feel like we could have an unreliable narrator situation, but again, not 100% on that. And so if you like character driven, this is not for you. This is probably why it wasn't like a favorite for me, because character work is my favorite thing about reading, and you don't get a ton of that here. I don't want to say you don't get a ton of that. So when they're in this place, they even make note of saying that they're not supposed to get that personal. They're not supposed to say their names and talk about their lives outside of Area X, because I mean, I can understand that. This is a place where most people don't come back from, so having that personal connections might make things more difficult. So you don't know a lot about this, and this reads like nonfiction. I'm going to talk more about that with the writing, but you're basically reading this person's account of their time here. And you do get like flashbacks of her life in the real world. So let's go to atmosphere now. As I said, this really reminds me of like an arena setting, like in the Hunger Games and in Fortnite. I don't know what this place is called, but it's like a pentagon shape. It might be a hexagon. I don't know. It's some kind of gon. And I know where it was the last time I played Fortnite. It was like in the top left of the map. And it was all walled off, and yeah, and there was like kind of a jungle inside, and I'm gonna run out of storage. Hold on. Definitely need to buy a new SD card next Amazon order. So atmosphere, as I said, it reminds me of all those places. And this is, you get halfway into this book. This book is less than 200 pages, by the way. So you get halfway into this book and I'm like, okay, but why is Area X cut off from the rest of society? What is the world like outside of Area X? Like, is it a dystopian world? Is it just like our normal world? Like, why? Like, why is this place cut off? What made it that way? And what is our normal world like? So the world building, I don't think is fantastic. There was a lot of, like, because there's a lot of nature writing, so it is really good at painting the picture of what the arena looks like, and it does go into more detail about, let's say 60% into the book, but of why it is cut off. They said it would, no, I don't know, that might be spoilery, I'm not gonna say why, but they do say why, but it wasn't enough for me because I am a really logical person when it comes to books. And I'm like, I want to know why. Like, I want to know everything. And I just feel like they didn't give us enough info. Like, if we were in this world that the book takes place in reading this account, then yeah, it would probably make sense. But for somebody who is not in this world where the book is taking place, I'm kind of confused. Writing, again, this is like reading nonfiction. You're reading somebody's account of being in Area X, and the writing was the highlight for me. I do think this writing was really good, and the nature writing, I'm looking at Where the Crawdads Sing, which I'm not a huge fan of that book, but the nature writing in there was fantastic. And so I feel like if you're a fan of Where the Crawdads Sing, that writing style, then you're gonna like the writing style of Annihilation. Completely different genres, completely different audiences, but I do think you'll like that because it is kind of like that coastal, I am imagining like a Gulf Coast setting for this, like Florida, Alabama, that kind of area. I don't know if it's actually set there. The author lives in Florida though. But yeah, for writing, very descriptive, really paints a good picture, fantastic. Nature writing. Plot, I like the idea of the plot, but I wasn't too intrigued because I didn't realize it was going to be like somebody's account of their time in there. Like, I thought it was just going to be third person, like, you know, like the Hunger Games or something. I don't know. Like, it's just, it wasn't how I expected that to go. But yeah, it was a 3-star, so I'm not rushing to pick up the next book. I'm gonna put it on my Amazon wish list, so if somebody bought it for me, yeah, I would read it, but I'm not going out of my way to buy this book for myself at the moment. But thank you, Ben Birdperson, for buying me this book. It was still a good book. Yeah, I love the writing, and writing is my second favorite thing about reading, good writing. So I am happy that it had good writing. So I am going to be starting War and Peace here in literally like 1 minute. It's probably going to be like 5 minutes. I'm going to start War and Peace. I'm going to do the audiobook for that. And I am scared going into it, and since this is a classic, there are tons of audiobooks for it, and which is nice because I don't have to pay because it's old. But it's like finding the perfect one. And I need to find out which science fiction book I'm going to be picking up next, and then when I'm eating my dinner later, I will write my review for Annihilation. Okay, venting time. So the dog barks. My dad talks to the dog, and they all talk really loud, and I'm like, that's not making her quiet. You're just being loud. So just kind of annoying. I have to listen to my audiobook with the volume like all the way up. Yeah, so I read 30 pages, which was 15 chapters, like 5% of the book. Because this is a massive Russian book. The Russians have to go off like that, but not with MH370. No, I'm still bitter about that. But yeah, I like Anna Pavlov. I like her. And the way they were describing one of these princesses, how one of her lips, her top lip is like, doesn't cover everything. I'm like, that's me. And I like the setting, so I'm liking it. I am liking War and Peace, but again, I am only like, I was literally like 4% into it, so we're not that far into it, but I am enjoying what I have read. And if you don't know what this is about, this is Russia during the Napoleonic Wars. It starts out in 1805, and just about like Russian nobility and those people. So that is what I read. As I said, 30 pages, because the version I have is only like 500 pages because it is very small print, which is why I'm doing I only do audio if it's over 500 pages, and this case being very small print, I would do it anyway. And then for like Russia, I'm not great at pronouncing Russian stuff, so it's for the sake of the vlog, it's good that I'm doing an audiobook so hearing other people. Speaking of, the narrator, Thandi, what is her name? Newton. She is, her family is from Zimbabwe, I think it said, and Zambia, but she is British, like she lives in the UK, and she sounds like Claire Foy. Like, their voices are so close. But I am going to eat some pizza. I'm going to make some pizza, and then get into a history of odd places later and tell you all my thoughts on that. Here we are for the 9 o'clock reading hour. So we're about to get into a history of odd places. Since I didn't update y'all last night, I'm going to give you all my thoughts and everything now. So I read 59 pages in here, which I think is a good job. So well, first, okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit more of what it's about because I didn't realize that it was dual timelines, so I only told you about one timeline. So we had that timeline of where Travis, I can't pronounce that name for some reason, is the guy who can like touch things and see about the people who own them or whatever. So we had that storyline. So he goes looking for her, he goes looking for Maggie, and then he goes missing. So the place they go missing is known as Pastoral. This reclusive community was founded by like-minded people searching for a similar way of life. But soon after Travis stumbles upon it, he disappears, just like Maggie St. James. So then we go to our second timeline. Years later, Theo, a lifelong member of Pastoral, discovers Travis's abandoned truck beyond the border of the community. No one is allowed in or out without the risk of bringing a disease, the rot, into Pastoral. Unraveling the mystery of what happened reveals secrets that Theo, his wife Kala, and her sister Bee keep from one another. Secrets that prove their perfect isolated world isn't as safe as they believed, and that darkness takes many forms. So I didn't know it was going to be like a 2 timeline, which I really like 2 timelines. And then like with the commune thing, I always find those communes cults interesting. But later, like at 9:30, I will tell y'all like all my thoughts on the book. So 4 pages in A History of Odd Places, which got me to 23%. I am loving this book. It's going to be a 4-star, at least right now, and I usually know when I'm about a quarter of the way in. So characters, let's start with our Travis guy. So he has a muddled past, it seems like. I want to know what his backstory is. Then our characters who are in Pastoral, that's so fascinating to me. Somebody growing up away in America. I thought this was in Louisiana. It's actually in the Pacific Northwest. Way different, I know. But imagine somebody in modern day America being in this valley and they can't go past the woods. They're not allowed to because they think a disease is out there. That, I can't imagine that. That's crazy. So I love to see how they go about that. Atmosphere, yeah, the setting is really cool, with it being a commune and all. I always find that interesting. Writing, I love the writing. It's very lyrical and I'm just loving it. It was the first thing I noticed when I started reading it. And then plot, I told y'all I love 2 timelines. I love just the idea of the commune thing, like I told you, people who don't really know about the outside world, I find really fascinating. So yes, I am loving this. I will begin into World Without End after my bath. That one, again, is like a 3-star, but I do like the historical slice of life kind of thing. But I will see y'all. Guys, happy Wednesday. So I didn't vlog yesterday just because I was so busy and I was scared that today would end up the same, but it didn't. I just got back from Target, so they had like a deal with beauty products. I don't remember what the exact deal was, but I needed makeup remover wipes. These are from Honest Beauty. And then I got this nail polish. It's kind of a green, bluey teal color, but I think this shade will look good on me. This is Unguilty Pleasure, $7.43 at Essie. And then for an outfit I have planned, I need some tights because it is 40 degrees here. It is cold and I want to keep my legs warm. So I did read War and Peace today and yesterday. My only new thing to say is that there are a lot of characters and I am scared that I'm not keeping them all in, like, keeping track of all of them. Hopefully I am though. But I will see y'all later, probably around 7:30. Okay, multitasking for me. So I'm about to get into A History of Odd Places. I did not have time to read that yesterday, and y'all know I'm loving this book, so I cannot wait to get into it tonight. We're gonna be starting on page, don't y'all hate, I wish every single page in a book had a page number on it. It's so frustrating when they don't. So 86, 85, 84? No, 83. We're gonna be starting on page 83, and as I said, I'm loving it. It's really the only book at the moment that I'm reading that's not average, and it's been a week or two since I've read a book that I've loved, so I'm super excited to be getting into this again. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll talk to y'all after if I have any new thoughts. Well, I'm going to talk to y'all after, don't worry. I only read 62 pages today, which I'm kind of upset about, but it's this War and Peace is massive and dense, and yeah, I feel bad since it was a gift, but I wish I would have got a different copy where I could read it physically, because I could read this physically, but the font is just so small that I would get a headache from reading it, and they've anglicized the names of the people. It just wasn't printed well, so I do wish I would have got a different copy, but yeah, so only 62 pages read today. And I am not going to read any Can Follett tonight because it is Wednesday and that's my Netflix night, which it's not going to be Netflix tonight, but I'm going to edit this vlog and then rewatch some of Daisy Jones.